So, out of the blue, on a Thursday afternoon, Borough have dropped their new crest for next season and beyond, as well as our 150th anniversary crest. And as someone who, of course, is just massively invested in this as a fan, but has also attended events where this has been discussed in detail, I was very interested to see what this crest looked like. So let's take a look at it, and let's talk about it. So here is Borough's new crest for next season and beyond. And, well, it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's exactly what we asked for at all the meetings and everything that we discussed, the questionnaires, the forums, everything that the club did a fantastic job, by the way, at getting fans involved. And clearly they have listened to the fans, because everything they've delivered here is exactly what fans wanted at the end of the day. We asked for a return to the round badge, something very reminiscent of the one we had in the glory years, up until 2008, I think it was. It has the name, it has the birth year, as opposed to what we had in the old round badge, which was, of course, 1986, as opposed to 1876. And it has the red line at the heart of it. So we can't say it is not everything we have asked for. And I kind of feel like I can see where they've gone with this. I do commend them for doing exactly what the fans wanted, and not maybe adding too many unnecessary things that perhaps weren't wanted, weren't needed. They could have tried too hard. They could have tried to overcomplicate it. They haven't. They've stuck with what the fans want. They've kept it simple, and I don't blame them for it, because, trust me, as someone who works in the design industry, who creates stuff every day, it is impossible to make something that everybody likes. So sometimes the safest thing to do is to just keep it simple. And the less you overcomplicate it, the less things you add to it, the less chance there is of someone finding something that they might not like about it. So I do not blame them for going down the simplistic route and keeping it straightforward. And if the worst feeling that fans have towards this badge is that they're slightly underwhelmed, then that's better than them absolutely hating it. And that's kind of where I'm at. I like the badge. I am a bit underwhelmed by it. But as a fan and as a designer who is always looking at things through a designer's eye with this headspace, I'm naturally very, very fussy. As they say in the design industry, everyone's a designer, everyone sees it differently. Everything that is created, that is visual, is subjective. There's not going to be 100 people out of 100 who are going to love everything about everything when it comes to a design, a crest, anything, a football kit. We see it every single year. So naturally, with the industry I work in, I was always going to see things about this that I would have changed. But overall, I do think it's a nice crest. I just think there's a few things that are a bit underwhelming. But they have explained why they've done what they've done, and we're going to take a look at it now. So on Borough's website, there's the result of an extensive process with Borough supporters at its heart. The new crest will be introduced permanently from the start of the 26-27 season, tying in with the club's 150th anniversary, as well as the new main crest. A special anniversary version with an additional 150-year signifier inspired by the Erson Park gates will be used during the 26-27 season. And, well, here are the images. There's the crest that we've already seen. It looks nicer when it's embroidered, I will say that. Just looks a bit more three-dimensional. It looks a bit more lively. There's the 150th anniversary one, which we will get to in gold. That's pretty nice. And my God, it looks even better when that's embroidered. That looks bloody stunning. And that on a red shirt next season, oh boy, that's going to be beautiful. They do explain why they made the decisions that they do, which is always nice, because even if you don't like the look of something, if you can understand the meaning behind it, it kind of helps. And they start with the crest, and they start with the rounder shape, the outer ring. And they do say, a return to the roundel shape, overwhelmingly preferred by fans and made famous by the crest used by the rejuvenated club that roared back to life from the brink of extinction in 86. That's exactly what fans wanted. 100% for that. The club's founding year of 1876, split across a white band, has been synonymous with Borough since it was introduced by Charlton in 1970s. Of course, that's fine. Yeah, white band, 1876, getting the birth year back on, absolutely great. Middlesbrough Football Club's name proudly in full in a slab serif font, further donating to the region's industrial roots. So they've chosen that font because it's more industrial. And the I think, is meant to look like something to do with iron. I don't bloody know, but yeah. The lion, rampant a historic Middlesbrough symbol going back to the town's origins with the BORO'S family. I think we were told about them in the Crest event we went to a few months back. And it says, incorporated with the developed lion shape, two Teesside landmarks are actually intertwined into the shape of the lion. The shape of the River Tees as it meets the Riverside Stadium in the lion's tongue. Love that touch, by the way. And the outline of roseberry topping within the lion's mane. Another nice touch. Here is the 150th anniversary quest, of course. Naturally, it's gold with 150 years, but the little shapes either side are to match up with the Urson Park gates, which is also on the new Borough shirt, which is a lovely touch. And that looks even bloody nicer when it's embroidered. I mean, look at that. That looks bloody stunning. It really, really does. So, that's the crest. That's why they've done what they've done. What are my thoughts? Well, as I said at the top, they've done everything we wanted, so fair enough. We can't complain in regards to that. They've listened, and everything the club did in the build-up to the unveiling of the crest, absolutely fair play to them. So everything they've done and the meaning behind it all is great. The rest of this is simply going to be just me being subjective and me being fussy. Now, first of all, I love the lion. I think the lion is the best thing about this badge. I just love it. The subtle touches with the tongue being like the way the river wraps around the Riverside Stadium, the roseberry topping being within the lion's mane. I love that. That is such a clever touch and something I didn't think of. Integrating shapes like that into the lion, very personable, very clever. I like that a lot. So I love the lion. Best thing about this badge, undoubtedly. Where I start to not like it as much is what's happening around it. So the outer ring that contains the Middlesbrough Football Club, the 1876, that's where I'm thinking, okay, it's fine, but maybe a bit underwhelming. For me, I was hoping we'd go with a more modern font. I'm going to be brutally honest. I can see why they've went with a font that's slab serif and looks a little bit more like it's incorporated to our industrial roots, but I don't necessarily feel like that's needed. I would have gone with a more simpler font, I would have gone for a more sans serif font, which are just much more smarter, slicker, modern. That's what I would have gone with. That's just personal preference. And I would have maybe added a little bit more space between where the text is and the borders either side of it, the inner red ring and the outer red ring. Maybe I'd have added a bit more space just to allow the text to breathe a little bit. Maybe it'd be a little bit smaller. And that especially goes for the 1876 because I feel like the red border around the lion is a bit thick, and it especially looks thick around the 1876. I think the numbers look like they're being swallowed up a little bit by how chunky the border is around them. So I would have maybe made that a little bit smaller and added a little bit more space when looking at the text, the Middlesbrough Football Club text. And of course, I would have changed the font as well. Now, obviously, earlier in the year, I made my own versions of the Borough badge. It wasn't my perfect badge. It was just what I predicted it would look like based off of what we were being told and what fans were putting forth. And this is what I had. And this is what I mean. These were the subtle touches I would have changed. So I went with a serif font, which I think just looks smarter. I think giving it a little bit more room within the white spacing, I think looks a bit better. I also added a smaller, thinner red border around the outer ring, which I think just gives the badge a bit more life, a bit more depth, I think. I did the same with the inner border, the inner circle as well. But one thing I really liked that I wish they'd kind of done is maybe overlapped the lion with the inner circular border. I think they did that on the previous circular badge. And I think what that does, it gives an extra dimension to the badge. It makes the lion look like it's almost popping out of the badge. It makes it look a bit three-dimensional. And I really like that. I think it just makes the lion look like it's popping out the badge. It draws your eyes to it a little bit more. And it just gives the badge and the crest more layers. It doesn't look as flat and as boring, I would say. So they're the few touches I would have made. Of course, I had the 1876 in the red, but I absolutely agree that it should probably be in the white because Borough always have the white band. But again, I think the numbers just have more space to breathe. The text does as well. I think the sans serif, is just smarter, more modern. And maybe they could have added a few extra touches, an extra little thinner border, a little added detail, and maybe brought the line out a little bit more into the outer circle, the outer ring, just to maybe make the badge look a little bit more three-dimensional. But for me, that's me being fussy, and I'm quite glad that my predicted badge wasn't actually that far off in the end. But as I say, I work in the industry, I'm very fussy, everyone's a designer, nothing's ever perfect, and of course everyone's going to have little things that, oh, this could have been better, this could have been better, but overall, it's a fine badge, and they have delivered on, I think, what most fans wanted, and I think because they've played it quite safe, more fans, I think, will like this badge than they won't. And I think over time, naturally, people will just warm to it anyway, because another thing that you will notice in general and in the world of design is people hate change. So they will just take a while to naturally come towards this badge anyway. But yeah, the outer ring's fine. The font I would have liked to be better. A few added details might have brought the badge to life a bit more, but the lion is beautiful, and the 150th anniversary version of this badge just looks outstanding. Absolutely out of this world. So, let me know your thoughts on Boro's new crest in the comments section below. This will be it for however long. For as long in the future, maybe an extra couple of decades, who knows. So we'll see how it goes, but let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you loathe it? Let me know, and if there's anything you would have liked changed to the badge, let me know in the comments. And as always, like the video if you've enjoyed it, subscribe for more. Leave me a comment below with your thoughts as always, and yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.